Hey everyone, welcome back to another fun and beginner-friendly front-end project. Today, we're building a color flipper using just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This is one of those simple yet satisfying projects that helps you understand how DOM, manipulation, events, and random color generation work, all while creating something visually fun. Before we dive into the code, let me quickly show you what we're about to build. When I click this button, boom! The background color of the entire page changes instantly, and right here, the hex code updates in real time to show the exact color. Now, if I like this color and want to use it somewhere else, I just click the Copy Color Code button. And this little message copied lets me know it's been copied successfully to my clipboard. Let's start by setting up our project folder. I've created a new folder on my desktop and named it Color Flipper. Inside this folder, we'll keep all the files needed for our project. Now I'll open this folder in Visual Studio Code. Once it's open, let's create 3 essential files: index.html for the structure of our web page, style.css for all the design and styling, script.js to handle the functionality with JavaScript. Let's begin with our HTML file. I'll start by using the boilerplate shortcut in VS Code. Just type an exclamation mark and hit enter. This gives us the basic structure of an HTML5 document. I've updated the title tag to say Color Flipper, so it shows correctly on the Browser tab. Then I've linked our CSS file with style.css. This will apply all the styles we'll create in the next step. Inside the body, we've wrapped everything inside a div with a class container. Inside that container, we have an h1 element that says the background color is now and right. Next to it, a span where the actual color code will appear dynamically using JavaScript. Now, under the heading, there's a div with the class buttons, and inside it, 2 buttons. The first one is to change the background color, and the second one is to copy the current color code to the clipboard. Both of these buttons use a title attribute. For example, title is clicked to change the background color. This title shows a small tooltip when you hover your mouse over the button. It's a good way to improve accessibility and let the user know what each button does without clicking it. Right below the buttons, we also have a hidden p tag with the ID copy message, which simply says copied. This message appears briefly when a color is successfully copied. And finally, at the very bottom of the body, we've linked our JavaScript script.js in the script tag. This file will handle all the logic to generate random colors and update the UI. Now, to preview this project in the browser, I'll simply right-click anywhere inside the HTML file and choose Open with Live Server. And there you go, our project is up and running. You can see the background is white for now, the color code is set to #FFF, and we have both buttons visible and ready to use. Now, let's style our project using CSS. First, we use the universal selector asterisk to reset default browser styles by setting margin and padding to 0, and enabling box sizing to border box for predictable sizing across elements. In the body section, we're using Flexbox to perfectly center our container, both vertically and horizontally. We set display flex, then justify content center aligns it in the center horizontally, and oligoncitum center handles vertical alignment. The height is set to 100 VH, which means the full height of the browser window. And finally, the transition property allows the background color to change smoothly. We'll see that in action when we write the JavaScript. Now let's look at the container that holds everything inside our project first. We give it a height of 40 VH, which means 40% of the full viewport height. Then, the width is set to 40%, but to make sure it doesn't get too small on smaller screens, we also set a min width of 450 pixels. We add some padding of 3 rem to give it breathing space inside the box. The background color is pure white, and we give it a 2px solid gray border to make it stand out. And finally, we round the corners slightly, using border radius to 1 rem to give it a modern, soft look. Now, let's style the h1 tag. We set the font size to 2rem so it's big and bold. We center the text using text lienster and add a margin bottom of 2rem to create some space between the heading and the buttons. And finally, we make the font. Super bold with font weight is set to 900 to grab attention. Moving on to the buttons class. This styles the section that holds both our buttons. We use display flex to place the buttons, side by side in a row. Then we center them horizontally and vertically, using Justify Content Center and Alignitum Center, and to make sure there's space between the buttons. We add a gap of 1rem. Next, let's style the buttons, both the change color and copy color code ones. We start with a clean look, a solid black border of 2 pixels, and rounded corners using border radius of 1rem to give them a soft, modern feel. We keep the background transparent so they blend nicely with the white container, and set the text color to black for visibility. The outline sets to none removes that. Default browser highlight when buttons are clicked. We add padding. For spacing, and set the font size to 0.8rem. Readable, but not too large, the font weight 600 makes the text bold. And we change the cursor to a pointer to indicate it's clickable. Setting the width to 50% ensures both buttons sit side by side evenly within the container. Now let's add a hover effect. When the user hovers over the button, we change its background color to a dark black shadend, flip the text color to white. This creates a smooth, clean contrast and gives instant feedback when a button is hovered. Now let's style the little copy confirmation message, the one that says copied when we click the button. We use position absolute to place it freely over the layout, and set the text color to green so it stands out as a success message. We give it a bold look using font weight 600 and shift it to the right with right 450 pixels. Then pull it upwards using margin top minus 70 pixels to place it just above the buttons. Initialize opacity is set to 0 so it's completely hidden. We also apply a smooth fade-in effect using transition. Opacity 0.5 second ease. The pointer events none makes sure it doesn't interfere with clicks. Then we define Theshow class, which simply sets opacity to 1 when we add this class through JavaScript. The message fades in, and when we remove it, it fades out. Simple and clean. And that's it. Our CSS styling is now complete. The layout looks modern, clean, and responsive, setting us up nicely for the JavaScript functionality. Let's start with our JavaScript now. So first, I'm grabbing all the important elements from the HTML that we'll be using in our JavaScript. For grabbing the button with the ID btn, I've created a constant called button, and I'm selecting it using document.querySelector. This grabs the generate color button from our HTML. Next, I've made a constant named color name to select the span element. We'll use this span to display the randomly generated hex color. Then we have a constant called copy, and we're selecting the copy button by using document.querySelector again. We'll use this to copy the color code when the user clicks on it. And finally, I've added a constant called copy message to grab the message container that shows the text copied. When a color code is copied, so these are all the main elements we need to interact with for now. Now let's create the function that actually generates the random color and updates the background. So I've created a function called changeColor using the arrow function syntax. Inside this function, we're first generating a random hex color and storing it in a variable called random color. Let me break this line down briefly. We're using Math.random to get a random number, multiplying it by 16,777,215, which is the total number of possible hex colors. Then we convert it to a hexadecimal string using .string 16 and make sure it's always 6 characters long, with .pad starts 6, string 0. Finally, we add a hash at the start too. Make it a valid hex color code. Then we log the random color in the console. This is helpful for checking the color code during development. At the end of the script, we link this function to the button click. So whenever the user clicks the Generate Color button, this function runs. Now open your Inspect tool in the browser and click the button. You'll see that a new color code is being printed in the console every time. After that, we change the background color of the page like this. And finally, we display the hex color code inside the span using inner text. You'll see that a new color code is being printed in the console every time. Plus, the background color is also changing dynamically based on that hex code. Now let's add the feature that allows users to copy the color code with a single click. So we've created an arrow function called copy color. First, we store the current color code, which is shown inside the span, in a variable called color. Then, we copy that color code to the clipboard using navigator.clipboard.TextText. This line uses the Clipboard API and instantly copies the text so the user can paste it anywhere. After that, we show a small message saying copied by adding a CSS class called show. Then we use a setTimeout to remove that message after 1.5 seconds. This gives a smooth feedback to the user after copying. Finally, we connect this function to our copy icon by adding an event listener. Now, whenever the user clicks the copy icon, the color code is copied to the clipboard, and a message briefly appears to confirm it. Alright, let's test it out. I'll click the Generate Color button. You can see the background color changes instantly, and the new hex color code appears right here. Now if I click the copy icon, the color code is copied to the clipboard, and we get a nice little confirmation message. Everything's working just as expected. Now, let's quickly recap what we learned in this project. How to select elements from the DOM using document.querySelector. How to generate random hex color codes using JavaScript. How to dynamically update the background color of the page. How to copy text to the clipboard using the modern Clipboard API. And finally, how to give visual feedback using simple class toggling and setTimeout. And hey, if you liked this video and found it helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. It really helps, and it lets me keep bringing you fun, hands-on coding tutorials every week. Now, if you want to keep building awesome projects with me, I highly recommend watching the Random Password Generator project next. It's very similar. We use JavaScript to dynamically generate content, interact with the DOM, and build something useful, just like we did here. You'll find the link to that video right on the screen or in the description below. Thanks for coding with me, and I'll see you in the next project.